Welcome to this lesson on how to divide a whole number by a decimal, and this is how you can do it. There's always more than one way in maths, and I'll show you a few ways. So first of all, it's always this over that when you write it as a fraction like this. Then what I want to do is change this into a whole number, and I do that by moving that point one place to the right, which is really timesing that number by 10, and I'm going to do the same with that one. So you end up with 20 over 1, which is just 20 divided by 1, or how many ones in 20, and the answer to that one is 20. So 2 divided by 0.1 equals 20. Now, when the numbers get a little bit harder, like in example 2, this is what happens. So 9 over 0.4, that becomes. And then again, timesing both of these by 10, by 10. So that moves that point over one place. The top number becomes 90 over, and this becomes 4. And then this becomes, well, what number goes into both of them? 2. And dividing them both by 2, 90, how many 2's is 45, and 4, how many 2's is 2. And then this you can do as a short division sum. So the number on the bottom on the outside, the number on the top on the inside. How many 2's in 4? There's 2. How many 2's in 5? There's 2. 1 left over, so that's 1 over, and it's always this number here that goes on the bottom, so 22.5. And 1/2, you may already know, is 0.5, so this is the same as 22.5. And I could have done the division like this. So how many 2's in 4 is 2, how many 2's in 5 is 2, put a point and then a 0, put a point here. Now when you do how many 2's in 5, there's 2 and there's 1 left over. And now how many 2's in 10, there's 5, so 22.5. So you could get either of those two, whichever one you wanted, by doing a little short division if you didn't already know the answer at that step. So with this one here, 25 divided by 0.06. So again, 25 on the top, 0.06 on the bottom. This time you need to move this 2 places to the right, which is really timesing it by 100, and you do the same with the 25, and you end up with 2500 or 2500 over the number 6. So really what's happening each time in these sums is you're changing this decimal into a whole number, which then makes the division easy, or a lot easier. It's quite hard to do a short division with a decimal out the front. In fact, I never do it that way because it's just too hard to figure it out. Now, setting this up as a short division, so the bottom number always goes on the outside of the short division, so 6 into 2500. And how many 6's in 2? There's none. How many 6's in 25? There's 4. Make sure your answer goes over this digit and not that one. Otherwise, and I'll explain when I get to the decimal point part of this. So how many 6's in 25? There's 4. There's 1 left over. How many 6's in 10? There's 1 with 4 left over. How many 6's in 40? There's 6 with 4 left over. And you need to put that leftover 4 in front of that 0, which comes after the point that you're going to put in. And you put a point up here in the same spot. And some students, when they go, how many 6's in 25? They put the 4 here, and then they're not sure where the decimal point comes in. The numbers don't kind of line up, and they end up sometimes getting the wrong answer. So the trick really is when you're doing any kind of sums like this, that you line things up in the right spot, especially with decimals. How many 6's in 40? There's 6, so this is going to keep repeating. So the answer to this as a decimal is 416.6. And I also want to do this as with the remainder. So when I get to this remainder here, I would have had 416 and then the 4 left over, so remainder 4, which would be 4 over that 6. And I could also write that as 2/3. So as a fraction 4/16 and 4/6, and as a decimal 416.6, repeating with a line or a bar across the top. So that's what this sum here is equal to, 416 and 4/6, or 416 and 2/3 in simplified form, and as a decimal 416.6, recurring or repeating. So that's the key thing you need to do when you divide a whole number by a decimal. Set it up as a short division. If it's trickier numbers, if it's a simple number, you can pretty well set it up like this and just move the point. And then depending on what numbers you get, you may have to do a short division to get your answer, especially if it is going to be a decimal, you will need to do a short division. And that's doing all of this without a calculator. So that's it for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.